Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to our program today. So hopefully you've been listening to our program, because what we do is we take an individual horror film, and me and a special guest will come on and critique, analyze, kind of have a general conversation about that movie in order to get into all the nooks and crannies and corners and shadows of that particular movie. Now, we tend to do a lot of different films from a lot of different decades and a lot of different subgenres of horror, especially touching upon those films that are not always talked about on other podcasts. Fortunately, that is not what we are doing today, because we are doing a very popular horror film, and it is actually celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, and that film is Scream from 1996, directed by Wes Craven. And to speak with me with this film, or about this film, I have brought on Sarah Panazzo, who is a big fan, I think, of this film. So it's going to be an interesting conversation that we have about this film. Welcome, Sarah.
Hey, Kevin.
Let me first by ask you, like I do every time we do this show, is exactly when did you kind of see this film for the first time, and what were your general reactions or assessments of the film when you first saw it? Because I know this is a very popular movie, and so that's going to be very important for what people listen to and want to hear.
So honestly, I don't remember when I saw this the first time. That's how long ago it probably was that I've seen it. But it has been one of my favorites since the beginning. Like, honestly, I think I saw this before I saw Friday the 13th. So when I finally saw Friday the 13th, it was like, oh, that's who he's dressed as. And I thought it was funny. But yeah, I mean, come on, Kevin. It was the 90s.
So, for me, I saw this. Okay, so for everybody, I'm a little older than Panazzo here, but I saw this movie at the theater when it came out during. I think it came out during Christmas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. It was like December 20th.
I saw it in December, but I had to remember whether or not it was released in December or not. I saw this movie on the first date. Don't ask me if you've listened to the podcast before. I'm taking first dates to everything from Get Out to Scream to I'm a bad person in this regard, in regards to picking movies to take on first dates. But I took a young lady to go see this at the theater, and the theater was fucking packed. Like, it was wall to wall people for this movie. So seeing this movie at the theater was amazing, because every time one person would scream, a whole theater of people would scream. And so I've always thought this was a great movie, but it's been at least 30 years since I've actually or 20 years since I saw this film. Because I hadn't seen this film since, I think or 26 years, because I hadn't seen it since the third film came out. Which is roughly about 2000. So it's been a long time since I've seen this particular film. But in the 30 years since it was released and I first saw it, I still really love this movie. And we're going to get into the conversation about why this movie still holds up 30 years later. It's still a great movie. So, I do want to ask this too, because this is a Wes Craven movie. I have to ask you, are you a Wes Craven fan or not?
I will say yes. I'm not like a diehard fan where I have to watch every single little thing he's ever done, but I am familiar enough with his work and I enjoy his work. But I don't just like throw every single Wes Craven thing on ever.
That's okay. Not all of his films are great, and he would have admitted that himself. It was, if he was still around. God bless his little soul. Because the one thing I will have to say about this is why I bring up Wes Craven's name in particular, is I believe he is one of the best horror directors at creating suspense in his films.
Yes.
And that is what has made his films so popular. Even before Scream, he was like a master at creating suspense and keeping the audience on the edge of their seats from beginning to end. And I think that's why his films have always been popular. And that's one of the things that contributed to the success of this film, because a lot of what he has crafted in his career before he did this film is all in this film. And even if you're not a Wes Craven fan, you will see the hallmarks of what a great horror film director can accomplish if given a great script and a really good budget. Because this was not a small little film. This was a pretty decent film, especially for Wes Craven, who was really successful at doing these suspenseful horror films. So That's why I was just asking. I've seen just about every one of Wes Craven's films, so I have not dissected all of his films yet, and I have not seen his pre horror films when he was known for doing porno films. I've not seen those, so so we'll stick with just the horror films for our show. So yes, that's where. So where would you like to start our conversation with Scream? Because we can start
Um,
just about it.
I want to start because you were talking about Wes Craven. I have to talk about the writer Kevin Williamson and how this was his like first ever project that actually worked. Spins off a whole franchise, starts writing for I Know What You Did Last Summer, Cursed, and then ends up writing The Vampire Diaries and Dawson's Creek.
Okay. Where would you like to talk about Kevin Williamson? I'm a huge fan of Kevin Williamson. That's after he did this.
I don't think I ever looked into anything that he had done. I was just like, okay, it's the movie. I know Wes Craven's all over it. And I always just kind of brushed off writing as writing. And I never put together that this was the guy who did Dawson's Creek.
Mm-hmm.
But it totally makes sense that all three of this Dawson's Creek and Vampire Diaries are all written by the same guy because they all are very much the same.
It's funny that you mentioned that because you could see, Kevin Williamson's love of the horror genre in this script, and it particularly a huge aspect of Dawson's Creek.
Yes.
Since the main character is in love with film and Steven Spielberg and being a filmmaker himself. That's kind of the thing I saw with Kevin Williamson, and thankfully, this was a really huge success for him and push for his career. And we actually got stuff like Dawson's Creek, because I'm a huge fan of Dawson's Creek. Although I should tell everyone I still have yet to ever watch the last season of the show. I'm still a fan of Dawson's Creek.
I am proud to say that I have never watched any of it.
Oh, nah. It's for us film geeks, dude. It's for us film geeks. I love that show for a while there. But anyway, yeah.
Upcoming this year, Scream 7 is his second time directing.
Yes.
So hopefully we will see how well that plays out for him.
You know what? I really loved his first one, Teaching Mrs. Tingle. I know they changed the title from Killing Mrs. Tingle to Teaching Mrs. Tingle, but it did not do well at the box office at all. It kind of came and went really fast. But I liked what he did with that film. He learned a lot from Wes Craven. I'll tell you that now. He learned a lot from watching other directors, not just Wes Craven, other directors, and crafting that film. And I really enjoyed the film. But it tanked at the box office, and he wasn't able to do another film for who knows what reason. Only he knows. But he does his shows, so he's getting a chance to come back with Scream. So I'm all happy about that too.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see how well it does. I mean, it's something to look forward to this year.
Yeah. So going back into Scream, the thing about this movie, other than the great suspense, is the cast. I didn't know any of the members of this cast except for Courtney Cox, Drew Barrymore, and Henry Winkler. I was like, I couldn't figure.
Okay.
I'm like, the other guy, Foz, Henry Winkler. And I forgot that Linda Blair had a cameo until I rewatched it. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Linda Blair's in here for a quick little cameo. But that was all that I knew of any of the people in this movie before I saw it. And like a lot of people who did not know that Drew Barrymore gets killed at the very beginning, I was in complete shock, and it was great. I'm just sitting there watching the movie in the theater with everyone else, and then she gets killed, and I'm like, what the? And I probably did yell it out too, and the young lady I was with probably just said, well, "Oh shit," because I was like, I was not expecting Drew. I grew up watching Drew Barrymore. I was thinking she was gonna be the star or something, not somebody named Neve Campbell.
And that's how they sold it too. And I mean, it works really well. It worked really well for Alien. It works really well in this.
Yeah. It worked extremely well, and I'm glad that that's something they kept up with subsequent movies. Because it was such a great jumping on point for this film. And for me, I was a filmmaker at the time, because this is 96, so I was in college learning how to be a filmmaker. And everything about this movie was right up my alley. the horror at the whole the Randy character and dissecting horror and all that. That was all me.
Every scene with Randy is just pure cinematic brilliance. I mean, you've got the whole scene with him like telling Jamie Lee Curtis, like, turn around, they're right behind you. While he's in the same situation, he's every single time he's in Scream, he puts together the entire movie before any of the main things happen. And it's like, it's just a brilliant way to write in the dictionary of horror films.
Yeah. So before you get any more, because I need to make sure that if you never, this is not going to be a spoiler-free film, everybody. If you have never seen Scream for some odd reason, you need to stop this, go watch the movie, and then come back because I'm going to spoil the fuck out of this movie right about now. So please stop it, go back, and come back because I 30 years after watching this film, I paid attention to every little look that Stu and Billy give each other and the way they talk to each other throughout this film. Because when I was younger, 26 years ago, I didn't pay any attention to going back and watching for that. It was so fun to watch
Yes.
their stories and how everything unfolds and how they talk to Randy in this movie. I was like, oh shit. If you're paying really good attention, you would know right off the bat that those two.
They do a really good job with leaving all of the clues out there for you for your subsequent rewatches.
It is so good. It is so brilliant the way that you know what, and everyone knows I've never been a very huge fan of Matthew Lillard until recently. This was not the film that took me about it, but this film right here, the way he has his chemistry with everyone in the class has got me rethinking him. I need to go back and rewatch his old movies because what he does with Skeet Ulrich, Ulrich, or however you pronounce his name, because I'm sorry I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but the Billy character is like just gold between these two characters, especially in the video store scene where Randy first talks to Stu, and they're talking about all the rules about the horror films and stuff like that. And then, of course, Billy shows up. So it changes the dynamic, but that when Billy and Stu are talking to each other, you just see the looks on their faces, and I was like, good God. These two killers are just fucking with Randy. It is so hilarious. It's so hilarious.
I mean, even their chemistry at the end of the film, like them just playing off of each other is just amazing.
Yes, it is simply amazing. And it's the innocence of making this film, whereas we all know that when they made subsequent films, they had to start hiding who the killers were at the end from even the cast members so they wouldn't leak out and stuff like that. But with this one, before the franchise became a franchise,
yes,
you could tell that these two actors in particular were working through these looks and stuff like that off camera before they got in front of the camera, and it was magnetic gold. And I had never noticed it until finally rewatching it and actually looking for it. Because even some of the stuff that the Billy character says to Sydney about her mother, and then of course the big reveal at the end that they killed her mother. I was like, oh man, I was like,
yeah, there are so many things the first time you watch it, you're like, okay, maybe they're just trying to one of my favorites that I wrote down for this one was where is it? It's right at the beginning. They're all sitting at the fountain, and Sydney goes, "How do you gut someone?" And Stu starts going into graphic detail, and Billy goes, "It's called tact, you fuck rag." And it's like the first time you watch, you're like, okay, he's trying to tell him to be gentle in front of the lady folk, but in reality, he's like, dude, come on, you're giving it away.
Yes, I saw it too. I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking hilarious. Because I just didn't really know it before, but you can see throughout the whole film that Stu is just excited because he's killing people for fun and he wants to tell the details.
Glad to be part of the group.
Yeah, yeah. This is why I say now. Matthew Lillard is actually, he's rubbing off on me now. I don't think I think I was stuck with his whole hackers persona for so long that I just couldn't get past it. But
no, see, that's how you grew up knowing him. I grew up knowing him as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. So
Oh my God. He will have a blast if he ever hears us talk about him on this podcast. Because I
And
think I
he
brought it.
he does it at conventions too, where he's like, yeah, I've been in horror films. He'll treat little kids like he's Shaggy and he'll do whatever with them. And he's apparently one of the sweetest people you will ever meet.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll have to meet him. I have to meet him one day at the convention and just pick his brain after now revealing what I thought about him for so long. Because I have seen like a ton of movies. Like I don't avoid movies with there are some people I avoid movies with. I don't avoid movies with Matthew Lillard because he's done so many movies that I have watched. I just for some reason Hackers that what he played in Hackers was stuck in my brain for so long. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I actually don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. Oh my.
Like I was trying to look at like what's the last thing I remember seeing him in. And honestly, I know it was like Five Nights at
Yeah.
Freddy's, but then like before that I was like, man, was it like uh what is it? 13 Ghosts?
Mm.
Like
He's good in Good Girls. I don't particularly like that show,
mhm.
but he's good in that. He's not like the off crazy funny character. He's really good in that, which is one of the reasons why I had to reevaluate my opinions on him because my wife loves that show. I
Mhm.
just think it's okay, like okay. But I thought he did a really good job with the character because he wasn't playing who I thought he was going to be playing, and so I paid a little bit more attention to him. So when you get older, you start, playing a variety of roles, and then you start, they have the tendency to change my opinions of them. So I'm glad. I am glad. I am glad. But I do love, like, they have the best interactions in this movie when you rewatch it. The Stu and the Billy.
Billy.
They
Yeah.
had the best ones. Like I don't really when I was rewatching it, I was trying to pay attention to some of the stuff that Sydney says to some of the other characters, but it doesn't ring nearly as interesting as the Billy and Stu character. But it's also fun when people are around Randy and Randy doesn't have a clue.
Yes.
He has a clue because he figures out who could be the killer really early on, but he doesn't like he has no
Yes.
clue. So it's very funny. Oh, Billy could be the killer. Yeah, he could be the killer. Anybody is a killer. Yeah.
But not the dad. The dad's a red herring,
Yeah,
obvious.
he says that right off the bat too. Yeah, the dad's probably a red herring. I didn't pick up on any of that until I rewatched it, obviously, because I've seen it so many times. And then rewatching it, I was specifically looking for stuff like that when I rewatched it. I was like, oh yeah, this film is really fucking intelligent and smart, and it actually um does a really good job for creating an atmosphere in the film that people will want to go back and rewatch to kind of look for these details. I'm sad to say I didn't look for them when I was younger, but it's been 26 years since I've seen this movie. So,
Well, and it's one of those movies where like I think everybody who has not seen it should go in hopefully not knowing what the twist is, not knowing who the killers are, and
yes.
not trying to figure it out because half of the fun the first time watching it is trying to figure out who it is,
Mm-hmm.
but not trying to piecemeal it too hard because they do a really good job of making it very neutral. I mean, they leave little bits and pieces everywhere of red herrings and Easter eggs of, oh, well, it could be so and so or it could be so and so. But upon every rewatch, finally seeing all the pieces fit together and being like, oh, that's how that worked and that's how that worked. And well, which door are we behind, this one or that one? And knowing that they're behind both doors because
Mm-hmm.
there's two of them just works so much more.
Yeah, yeah. And I also wanted to say, adding on to the way those two interact, I also want to bring up because if we don't go into the details right now, I just want to make sure that you remind me of this. The interactions between Dewey and Gale, because that's also really well done in this movie, and I didn't pick up on that until I rewatched it as well. Uh, I could probably keep talking about the whole Billy and the Billy and Stu thing, but
Relationships in this movie are just phenomenal, and the way that they bridge over to the other movies works so well. There's a reason why Dewey and Gale have a relationship throughout multiple movies and why they've been in all of them with Sydney. They're, like I said, the relationships are just fantastic that they have.
I it's funny because I kind of took Dewey for granted in this first film. When I was rewatching it, and I started seeing some of the great interactions that Dewey has with Gale, and the kind of the big brother little sister between him and Tatum, but Tatum is more acts older than he does. Which I thought was really playful. I do think that it's sad that we don't kind of see any type of resolution with the Dewey and Tatum in this movie because he just kind of dropped. Yeah, I wish I'd seen some more of that in the second act.
I do appreciate that Sydney is like the other younger
Yeah.
sister that he wishes Tatum work could have been like.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but I'm
Yes.
glad we at least get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I kind of see that in the later films. I kind of recognize now that that's kind of how he treats her as like the surrogate sister because his sister passes away in
Yes.
this movie. But the relationship between Dewey and Gale, where it first starts off as Gale manipulating Dewey with her womanly ways and her reporter ways, and then it slowly evolves into something more. I actually think it's very genuine in this film. I kind of had the impression, having not seen this film in 26 years, that it kind of seemed odd, maybe fast and not authentic or genuine. But rewatching this film, it seems like a natural progression because Dewey comes off as this kind of good old boy type of guy.
Yes. And
Uh,
originally I read that they had written him as like a ex-athlete in high school. He was like the jock and everything else. And when what's his name? David Arquette came through, he was like, no, I want to do more of like a trying to be John Wayne, but I'm more of a Barney Fife.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Not so much, not completely Barney Fife. He does a really good job of balancing that. Really good job of balancing that.
But then at the same time, he's got those lines, especially with Tatum, where he's like, you know what mom said, when I
Yes,
wear the badge, you gotta respect me.
that's why I'm saying the lines with him and Tatum are so cool, and so great. The way he delivers them, and I wish I'd seen more of that. But you can get the sense of that when their last scene is when he and Gail comes to the party at the third act, and Tatum Tatum has her few words with him, and then of course we don't see him again after that because she gets killed. But you can see that when she's around, she's the little sister, but dude, she does not get respect. He does not get respect from her at all.
No. But I always have to throw it in because I think of it every time, but his representation in Scary Movie, where it's Officer Duty reporting for duty, and then at the end of the movie it turns out that he's just like some super cool guy hunk. And it was just all a thing. And every single time I'm like, they didn't know how true they were to it. He's not just some goofy police officer. He's like a freaking badass.
Well, I'm gonna take your word for that. I remember absolutely nothing about Scary Movie. Nothing.
That's the only part I really, really remember
Oh,
because it
Jesus.
was one of my favorites.
Uh, and that's something we should bring up if you're not already familiar with your little trivia. That this movie was originally titled Scary Movie before
Yes.
they changed it to Scream, and then they did a spoof called Scary Movie. It's and
Which they didn't call it Scary Movie because they thought that it was going to come off too spoof-like and too comedic.
Oh, did they say that was the reason why they changed it?
Yes.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Scream was a much better title.
Yes.
Or they could have called it Stab.
I'm glad it wasn't Stab because now we've got Stab and Stab 2 and Stab however many others.
Yeah.
The movie, which is also so brilliant. And I love watching when people compile all the videos of the shots from the movies to the shots in Stab. And it's like, man, this is pure cinema right here.
Yeah, I think people have a little. Yeah, I think they had a little fun with that.
Oh, I hope
Especially in
they
part
did.
three. Uh, and hopefully everyone who's listening will get around to delving into the other films in this franchise because we all know that there is a new one coming out this year later on. So or it should be out by the time this episode comes out. So yeah, so that'll be something to kind of hold you over till obviously or hopefully they do another one after this one. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Every couple years it seems like they're doing one. So
Now, because Ghostface is not going nowhere. And speaking of which, we're getting to Ghostface now, and Ghostface is now a household iconic slasher, probably one of the few modern day slashers that has spawned so many sequels. I can't
I
think.
mean, I wouldn't even say super modern day anymore because I mean, Child's Play came out kind of
In
close to this too,
88,
didn't it?
88, I believe.
Yeah, 88. So it was only like 8 years after Child's Play, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's one of the modern monsters anymore because it's like we said, it's 30 years old.
Yeah, you say that, but for me, it's still more modern than Child. But you're right. I'm trying to think of any other type of franchise that has an iconic
I would say
villain.
Sam from Trick or Treat. But he's like another 10 years after this.
Yeah, but Sam's got only one movie.
Yeah, but he's exploded like no other single movie.
Yeah, we need more movies with Sam.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, we need more movies with Sam. I can only, and there's so much stuff to that can mine with Sam.
Well, and now like everybody's doing the horror video games or the skins in their video games, and I know that Ghostface is left and right with the new movie coming out. But it's such an easy costume to do. You really just need the mask and like a black bed sheet, and you'll be fine.
I think I actually have the costume for Ghostface still. I don't have the mask anymore, but I have the whole the costume already. But I always say that because we thought this franchise had died in the 2000s, and they come up with the fourth movie, and then
Yeah, because the third one didn't do too good. And looking back on it, like I was telling you earlier, it now is much better than when it initially came out. Has a whole lot more to say about itself than what was initially led on. Because this whole film franchise was started with the Weinstein Company. So the third one takes a lot of direction and what choices to say about that before the Me Too movement. But then the reawakening of it with what is it, Sydney's younger sister or her niece or something like that, and the fourth one, and then just expanding on that with Billy's kids. I mean, I'm glad they progressed the series without focusing just on like, okay, it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers again and again and again, but they're adding some other characters for more exposition and who to focus on, and they kind of come in as backup.
Well, until like the new one where we focus back on Sydney again.
Well, it's because it's for her daughter. Because apparently she had kids sometimes during all of the other craziness.
Yeah, I was trying to. I couldn't remember if they made mention of her having kids in the last two or not.
Yeah, I was gonna rewatch them before the new one comes out. I do know that her husband got recast from McDreamy to Joel McHale in this one, so I am looking forward to that.
McDreamy to Joel.
Yeah, I don't remember the guy's name. He was McDreamy on Grey's Anatomy. And that's all I've ever known him as. Patrick Dempsey? Yeah, Patrick Dempsey. And now it's Joel McHale. So apparently she got a divorce and had a kid.
I forgot Patrick Dempsey was in one of the new ones.
Yeah, it's so because it was such a minor part. I don't think he was really in the movie, and then he's just gone.
Interesting. And Joel McHale, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That is a interesting change.
I think they needed somebody available who was in the state of Georgia while they were filming. And Joel McHale is always available in the state of Georgia, as far as I know.
Jesus, isn't he doing that new that show of his, Animal Control or something?
Oh yeah, he's got a whole lineup of shows, Kevin. Ask me how I know.
You must really like Joel McHale. I like Joel McHale myself. I just don't keep up with him as much as that,
No, they film a bunch of his TV shows out here in Georgia.
Okay. So, where were we talking about? Who were we talking about? Oh,
We were
Ghostface.
talking about Scream and Ghostface.
We were talking about
I do
Ghostface.
gotta bring up, so like originally with the mask, they found it was, I can't remember which original prop mask it was that they really liked, kind of bought out the rights for it or whatever, but now a second company has
Hmm.
come forward in the last year and is now arguing over that. No, they originally have before that other company who did the, I think it was called like the peanut eye mask or something like that. So now they've got a whole other lawsuit happening with the ghost face mask
Yeah,
of
yeah.
who the actual owners are. And it's like, guys, it's been 30 years. I know you're trying to cash in on it now, but
Well,
you're a little late.
that's what the owners of the films are trying to say. It's like you had 30 years to contest the ownership, and you shouldn't be coming to us. You should be going to the people that we bought the rights from. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, it'll be interesting how the lawsuit goes. uh, yeah, yeah, there's always someone or something that comes out of the woodwork to try and stop releases of films for some obscure reason. This one I was laughing at a little bit because it's a mask. I was like, okay.
But
um
it's one of the most expensive and content selling masks of all time, Kevin.
Now it is. Obviously when they were using it, it was not. And of course there's spoof mask of the Ghostface mask out there,
Yes.
which are hilarious to find in the spirit of Halloween and all the other stuff during the Halloween season. It's just hilarious to look at how many spoofed masks there are. They
Well,
probably,
and even like I said, Scary Movie even did spoof masks of it. You
yeah,
got the Wazop masks and the high ghost face and everything else like that.
yeah. So yeah, I think that they won't stop the film from being successful.
Oh
Or
no.
I think the film right now is probably going to be something that the old school fans really want to see, which is another Sydney centered story. I
Well,
think,
and that's the good thing about the way this series has been going is it brings back the old fans and it introduces new
yeah,
fans every time a new one comes out because they keep with the format. Like they've gotten a little bit more gruesome, but then again, so is all horror. But it's the same kind of dark comedy playing with horror movie tropes and everything else like that.
yeah, yeah. But you mentioned something just now about the horror and the gore aspect, and I had forgotten how gory this movie actually is.
Yeah, they actually had to cut a lot of the gore because it was going to be rated NC-17. And he
Oh
was like,
shit.
no, I want parents to be able to bring their kids to see it. So it was rated R. And originally when it was written like super gross, like explicit, like his guts fell down his thighs and into his feet and all this other stuff. And they were like, no, no, you got to clean it up just a little bit.
What we still got, guts coming out of Steve Drew Barrymore's boyfriend, and then her.
Realistically, it's only the beginning, and then the rest of it, it's just kind of blood. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Oh, you know what? I think you're correct. I think that was the most gory
Yeah.
scene in the whole one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting because
They really start it with a bang, and then they're like, okay, it's mostly just blood and stab wounds from here on out.
you know what? I will commend the film on this. Uh, a knife has been used so meticulously overused in slasher movies, and yet when watching this film, it still feels fresh and looks like innovative the way it is used in this film. And I had forgotten that until I rewatched it. I was like, they do a lot with just a knife in this film that
Yes.
is really effective. Um,
I mean, they do that. That's really effective, but then you get some more ridiculous things like the whole garage door scene, which is just laughable in its entirety. That's the one bad part about this movie is how they take out Rose McGowan and
You know what? I'm not gonna fault that. I love Rose McGowan. Rose McGowan has
me
grown on
too.
me tremendously in her career, and she is so much fun to watch. And, after rewatching it, I fell in love with her for her Tatum and the whole Dewey conversations between each other. Because I could have given that character like she's just a throwaway character. Who cares about that? But she has these certain scenes in there that just rings.
Mhm.
And her dying in this movie is fucking hilarious as shit. Not only because she thinks that she can escape Ghostface by going through a cat's door in the garage, but the way she gets killed is very violent because more or less she gets snapped as it goes all the way up. Like it's not like we hear it in the soundtrack, the sound effects. We hear her like her body or her head just snaps. And then of course later on we see her hanging there when Sydney sees her hanging
Mhm.
there. I was like, damn. Um, it is funny, don't get me wrong, but it's also a very violent death because you see Ghostface just kind of says, "Oh shit, that worked."
Yeah.
Without seeing the actual actor's face, you just kind of get that impression from the look. Oh shit, that worked.
Yeah, you almost expect him to like shrug and be like, okay.
um, which brings me to the other thing I really love about the Ghostface killers is because they get their asses whooped in this film. Like
Yes.
they actually react the way you would think a real person in their shoes would do.
Right, because they're not impervious like Michael Myers or Jason or Freddy. They are still actual people underneath. So everything that happens to them, they do carry on with the rest of the movie, which I do appreciate as well.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite things about all of the films of the franchise is that the go whoever's in the Ghostface killer, and it's always different every film. If you haven't seen all of them, it's always different because they always kill them at the end of the film. Uh, it's very what do you call it? Interesting. That's not the word I want to say, but it's always intriguing the way that the victims are kind of thwart the villains in this film, and they kick them, they beat them up, and then they get chased some more, and they still kick them and beat them up, and they get chased some more. Even Tatum.
Hmm.
Tatum gets her licks in before she actually dies, as do most of the people in there. Even Gail, in the third act, she gets her little licks in before she gets her ass kicked out
Yeah.
the front door. I'm like, damn, I forgot how hard that must have been. She like got kicked through the front door into one of the railings before she passes out over Dewey. Like she gets in the car wreck as well, and she gets her ass whooped in this movie. It's very interesting the way all of the victims or potential victims get their asses whooped, and they whip the asses of the villains themselves, which makes it very interesting and then what do you call it? Exciting to watch.
You also bring up a fair point is all of the villains are always human. They're always a different person in each movie. There's nothing supernatural at all in this entire series. So always trying to figure out who it is, but also why they are trying to kill these people is such a fascinating thing. And I want to say the hoops that they jump through sometimes you're like, what is going on? And then you get there and you're like, holy shit. Like the
Mm-hmm.
twist at this one is that, yes, they killed Sydney's mother originally because she slept with Billy's father and destroyed his parents' marriage. And it's like not expecting that going into the movie
No,
at
no.
all.
No, but it's interesting that because I'm gonna go right back to this again. It's interesting that when they're in the video store with Randy, and Randy claims that the killers always have to have a motive. They're always looking for a motive. Everyone, the killers have to have a motive, and then he gets asked, "What if there is no motive? It's just a spree killing." And then of course we get back to why Billy has to give a motive for why he's doing what
And
he's
he's
doing.
like, I have no motive. I just felt like it. I thought it would be cool.
Yeah,
And then you go to Stu and he's like, peer pressure.
peer pressure. Oh, I forgot that line was in there. I love that line. It's pure
Apparently,
pressure.
Matthew Lillard just like went with most of the movie. They were like, go ahead, do your improv, do what you want to. And almost all of it makes the movie.
It does that line is just peer. He just says peer pressure, especially after he's been stabbed. Who knows how many times? I tried to count them and I lost track. It just looks like Billy is just having fun, just keeping the stabbing him.
Yeah.
So yeah, you stabbed a little deep. It's like I might be dying here.
Yeah, because it's like every time I watch it, I always wonder, did Billy actually want Stu to be alive, or was he trying to kill off Stu in some way so he could be the only survivor because he knew Stu would mess it up in the future?
That is very interesting that you bring that up because I got that same impression. Because when I rewatch it throughout the whole film, I get the impression that Stu wants like the notoriety and having fun with killing people, and Billy has to stop him. Don't go too far to give away anything. And so
Yeah,
I
like
got that
Billy
impression.
wants to be Hannibal Lecter, whereas Stu wants to be Terrifier.
Yes, that's a
And based on the movies that they talk about during the movie, it really does show that because Billy always talks about like Silence of the Lambs and like the more like methodical movies, and Stu's always like slasher, killer, thriller.
I bet you that Kevin Williamson was smart enough back then to probably make that very, very clear in his writing. The reasons why the certain films that are mentioned are. I still had I was laughing when all Randy mentions is Prom Night. If people watch Prom Night, to survive a horror film, and I'm like, oh my God, Prom Night. So I'm thinking Kevin Williamson probably is a fucking huge fan of Prom Night.
Well, I don't think it's Prom Night he's a huge fan of. I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis because he talks about Psycho, which is Janet Leigh, her mother. He has Halloween on the last half of the movie, and he talks about Carpenter most of the film, which I don't blame him. I'm a huge fan too.
Yeah, if we mentioned Carpenter, that would be someone you'd be a huge fan of. Wes Craven, not so much yet. Yeah, we'll have to get you there. We'll have to get you there. Even with Wes Craven's earlier films, we'll have to get you there. But as everyone knows, we talked many, and I think me and you have talked about several Carpenter films on this program already.
I think we've done like every Carpenter episode for this.
Yes. So that's something to think about when you're listening to our show, everybody. Yeah. Wes Craven, we haven't done many of. Were you here for the Swamp Thing one?
Yes. I keep forgetting that that's Wes Craven because I don't think of it as a Wes Craven movie at all.
Yeah.
But so I do adore it now that I've seen it.
I think we have not done many Wes Craven. I think we did Swamp Thing and we did a Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's probably it. So thankfully we are rectifying that this month by doing all these Wes Craven movies. So hopefully we'll bring some more light to him, because I do believe he is one of the more successful horror directors out there. His films were more profitable than John Carpenter's or George Romero or Stuart Gordon or any of the plethora of other great horror directors out there. I think he was able to continue doing all the great things he was able to do because his films were much more successful. Not all of them were successful.
Well, and he just had a lot of original ideas that people then expanded on. I mean, you look at the whole like Freddy universe, and then you've got like Last House on the Left and The Hills of Eyes, which had a whole redo during the 2000s. But just everything that he has done, I mean, shocker, People Next Door, what is it, People Under the Stairs. There's so much stuff that he's done, or even just originally writing for TV shows that were just fantastic.
Yeah. Which is another thing I'm going to briefly bring up. It's a sad thing that his television shows were not nearly as successful. I am still a huge fan of his Nightmare Cafe, which just did not get the love it should have gotten. I thought that was brilliant. And if it had been successful, we probably would have seen more stuff from him in the television world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he has since, or he did produce some of the quintessential great films. I mean, even some of his last films were really great movies. Red Eye, I thought was really.
I always forget Red Eye is one of his, and that was one of the first, like, I think, like Netflix films that came out too. Maybe I'm misremembering Red Eye.
No, Red Eye was a theatrical film.
Okay, yeah, but no, I remember seeing like Red Eye in theaters, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" Because, I mean, who thinks of a plot like that?
It's suspense. He's so good at suspense.
Yes.
And that film is nothing but suspense from beginning to end. And when he decides to revisit his old properties, he, in my opinion, is fucking brilliant. Which is why I'm going to bring up his Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which I thought is the only sequel past the third one that's actually any fucking good, and up there with the original film in terms of its creativity and execution. But you know, I think if Kevin Williamson had written this film, Wes Craven would have crafted something that would have been really fucking similar on his own. He likes to reinvent the wheel, as you can see from New Nightmare or even The People Under the Stairs, which at the time there was almost no horror films that featured almost an entire African American cast. Other than it spoke about the urban lifestyle back then. There was none of that shit was done back there. Or when he went to go work with Eddie Murphy on Vampire in Brooklyn, which is a flawed movie, but he was doing that.
That was his first attempt at horror comedy too.
Yeah,
and it didn't work as well, but we see what he did with this. With a really good script, he could add the suspense to something that was already full of humor.
Yeah. So I can't speak more highly of this film. This is also a great film to watch with a lot of people too. Just like it is in the movie when you see everyone's at Stu's party and watching horror movies. I mean, I love the scene where Randy's asking everybody, Hellraiser or it wasn't Halloween, the first one. What was it? Hellraiser or something else? I can't
remember.
I can't remember the other movie, but it was funny that he mentioned Hellraiser and like only like two girls, or I think it was just two girls raise their hands, but the other movie everybody raises their hands for. It's like, oh shit, that's fucking hilarious because I'm a horror geek. And a lot of people here on our show are horror geeks too, so you find that hilarious. And at least it wasn't Night of the Living Dead playing on the TV screen; it was Halloween.
Yes.
Since everybody plays fucking Night of the Living Dead.
But it ties in so well. Like there's the scene where right at the end where Sydney is hiding in the closet, and then you cut to Halloween where you got Jamie Lee Curtis hiding in the closet, getting ready to attack the killer. And it's like it works so well for this movie. But speaking of which, it doing well, it had a budget of 15 million and it made 173 million worldwide, and that is in 96. So that is a shit ton of money, let alone the now 7th movie in its series it has spun and the multi-season TV show.
Yeah. I liked the first 2 seasons of the show. I did not like the 3rd season. And I was okay with the change in the mask as well. I thought the first 2 seasons of the show felt really much like the movies. I thought the 3rd season was like way off the rails. I don't know why they did such a change with the 3rd season. And then it didn't come back after the 3rd season. But yeah, I mean, it was hugely successful. And if I'm not mistaken, I would not be surprised if they try to make another television show at some point. They could. I don't know what it'd be about.
Yeah, they'd almost have to do like a new horror or something like that. It would ruin it realistically if they did a new TV show or if they spun it into like multiple other people around the world trying to do the same thing.
I think they would have to do it like they do American Horror Story. It would have to be an anthology TV series for it to work in this day and age. I just don't think it could do what they did last time because the first 2 seasons of the show, even though I liked the first 2 seasons, it's watching similar characters for the very first, or the exact same characters from the first season who survived in another killing spree in the 2nd season. And that's why the 3rd season didn't do nearly as well. It's because they started off with a whole new cast, a complete cast and a different story and everything. I don't even remember the 3rd season. That's how much I didn't like the 3rd season. It just wasn't any good. But I don't think that Wes Craven or Kevin Williamson had anything to do with it either. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm trying to figure that out, but I can't. It would take me a little bit longer to find that all out. But the Scream franchise and the Scream idea all sprung from these 2 guys, Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven. Kevin Williamson, the brainchild of the whole idea, and then under the guidance of Wes Craven, it became something much more. I would love to read the original script for this just to see how it read as opposed to Wes Craven sitting down. And Wes Craven was a very learned man and had a lot of great ideals. I mean, he crafted some really edgy and thought-provoking horror films in his entire career. And to see what he came up and what he changed, or if he changed anything in regards to the script, because I'm sure this script was just sitting on a slush pile because Kevin Williamson wasn't a known entity before then.
It actually, I think I saw that it got picked up pretty fast because they were all on that like slasher killer streak. But what he originally based this off of had only happened earlier in 1990. So it wasn't sitting for too long. It's not like it was sitting there for a ton of time, but yeah, he based it off of a series of murders in Gainesville, Florida in 1990. But yeah, I think it mostly came down to the rewrites and the whole bartering system that is Hollywood on who actually got the rights, because I know that it was quite a battle for who was going to get it.
Let's see. These are the stories we like to hear about. Interesting. I seem to recall certain things 30 years ago when this movie was being made, but I've forgotten more than I remember. 30 years is a long time, and I was just becoming the film critic that I am today. In 96, I'd only been in film school for maybe a year and a half, so I had to learn the fine intricacies of being a really good film critic and having a critical eye like I do now.
I do want to bring up one thing that we have not touched on, which is also an ultimate part of this movie, let alone this series, and that is the voice of Roger L. Jackson, who did the voice of Ghostface in every single one of these, I believe.
Interesting. I didn't know he did all of them.
I think he did everything but like the first 2 seasons of the TV series.
I can see that.
But yeah, they basically hired him based on his voice work for Mars Attacks, and he's a huge voice actor, like tons of cartoons, video games, whatever. He has done a ton of stuff. Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls, to name one of the many. I was looking down the list and I was like, oh my God, this guy has just done an incredible amount of stuff.
Wow.
Let's see.
Huh. Where am I at?
But yeah, he's been doing stuff in like the Devil May Cry series, the Alone in the Dark series. He went all the way back to what was that claymation wrestling show that they used to have on like Spike TV or whatever, Celebrity Deathmatch.
Oh,
He was there, I believe, a bit doing voice acting. Like I said, lots of video games, Red Dead Redemption 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, he played Saruman for all of the video games for Lord of the Rings, I want to say. But I mean, he just has a huge library of voice stuff that he did, and man, it works with this. I mean, it's an iconic voice that you can hear every time you hear this voice, you know what it's from.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That most definitely nowadays, yes. Huh. That is very interesting. I did not know that. It'd be interesting if someone actually did like a interview with him or a little story on him and saying what he's felt like in terms of the progression from this first film to whichever film or the last project he's done, because I don't know if he does the current movie or not.
I believe he is. I think he's still doing it because he's doing it for, like I said, everybody's doing Ghostface in their video games and stuff like that right now. He is still actively doing the vocal work for those new video games.
Oh, wow.
As Ghostface.
That means, okay.
Yeah, because he just did 2025 Mortal Kombat 1, he was Ghostface. And then I want to say there were a couple of other ones recently that also happened.
Oh, isn't that crazy? What do you do for a living? I'm just the Ghostface voiceover and a ton of other shit. All stuff that's popular with lots of people.
Yes.
Lots of video games, I see.
Yes, lots and lots of video games, a bunch of the like Star Wars TV show video game spin-offs. I mean, it's all over the place. He's even in Carmen Sandiego's Great Chase Through Time. I mean, come on.
I'm not gonna say much. We don't actually talk about the people who do the voiceovers and stuff in this program. This may be the first time we've actually mentioned anyone who actually did it, and this is a film that it's most iconic for is the voice for Ghostface. So I am glad we brought it up because I would have never even thought about bringing it up.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I love vocal actors. I love stunt people. I love special effects. They all make a film, and this voice really makes it. I mean, he's been around for over 30 years now doing the same voice.
Mm.
So kudos to him. And hopefully we hear him in Scream 7, which it says that he
Yeah,
is. So
as he is. Um, which is one of the great things that I just want to bring up is that this is a film in which I don't think there's any real blatant CGI animation in this film. It all looks pretty damn practical, and it still is a really effective film. And so that's something to be said about this film as opposed to maybe some of the sequels. Since we do know that there are CGI used in the most recent films to de-age Skeet Ulrich's character.
yeah, I think just in general, any of the de-aging nowadays.
Yeah, which is sad, but it is what it is with nowadays. Everyone wants to be de-aged in these movies nowadays. I just like the days when they used to age them older and use practical makeup.
Yes.
De-aging just seems to be a popular fad now for a while until they get bored of seeing it. So
Yeah, there's better ways of doing it with makeup and lighting. It doesn't need to be a CGI face on top of a regular person.
oh my God. Come on, if we can do all blue avatar people, we can do de-aging, right? Oh Jesus. Oh God. Talking about Scream, I don't want to miss out on anything in this film. And so everyone listening, we did not do our typical going through the plot of this movie because we're hoping you've actually seen the damn movie. This is Scream number 7 now. So we're hoping that everyone has actually seen it. So we did deviate from our normal form of going through the plot and all that type of stuff. We're going to let you watch the movie if you haven't watched the movie to go through the plot yourself. But us going through all the details of the characters, character relationships, and motivations and stuff like that should be just enough for you to get an idea of how much we actually really enjoy this film. But did we miss anything, Panazzo, that you could think of?
I mean, there's so much more you could say about this movie from every little nod, wink, nudge, whatever they give in this movie. If anybody else is like Kevin and hasn't watched this in over 20 years, please go back and rewatch it. It's still as good as the first time, except you pick
Yes.
up on a lot more of the subtext stuff that they play off of. And just the little winks and nods about how smart some of these characters are. Like Tatum basically figured out who was murdering her from the minute they walked into the garage. Stuff like that. I mean, it's very well done. If you're a horror fan, every little kind of thing is in these movies that you know what you're expecting, they know what to expect, and you see why they're forced into these situations. But the last thing I gotta say, Kevin, is what's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know my favorite scary movie. I know my favorite one to watch, but I don't know scary movie. I don't get scared. It's hard. I'm 50 years old. I can't get scared anymore. But I will say this, because I'm gonna bring up something that's funny from one of my last things for the film, and I don't want to miss out on it because I mentioned them already, which is Henry Winkler's character there as principal,
Yes.
who is a obvious red herring in the film until he gets killed. But it is fucking hilarious when I rewatched it. When he puts on the mask after berating the two kids running through the hallways with the Ghostface character, the mask on, berates them and threatens them with a pair of shears. And of course, making him a obvious red herring. But then you see him later on practicing and playing with the mask as though, like, oh, I could be a killer too. And let me play with the mask. And of course, he gets himself killed. But I found it really hilarious now watching him as oh my God, he's in there playing with the fucking mask.
Well,
And
it's also like Wes Craven's cameo where he's the janitor dressed up as Freddy. It's like, it's great.
it is great. It is great. It's great seeing Henry Winkler in this film. I can't recall if he's ever done another horror film to save my life. But this one here, he actually has a real role in it because he's in it several times and his voice comes over the loudspeaker and everything several times before he's actually killed. And my only regret is I wish they had given Linda Blair a bigger part. She's just a reporter for that one scene, and that's it. So other than that, I really love this film. I think it's a great Wes Craven film, a great horror movie in general. And despite the fact that the Ghostface killer has been overly utilized in horror fandom,
Mhm.
I never thought that the image was nearly as powerful as, say, a Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers or even Chucky. Um, because of the costume is just a plain black like cloak type thing. And then the mask. I never really thought that that would be that scary. And so when I rewatched this, I just had fun with it and just said it was just one hilarious fucking costume that could easily come off and on at the drop of a hat and make it so that it's really easy not to know who the killer is. Because this movie does an amazing job of you figuring out who's in the costume and who's not, who's torturing who and who's not, especially when the Billy character kind of shows up right afterwards in some of the scenes. I think some of the choreography with how that all works in the film was brilliant, and I do not think that they cheat. I think it's just really clever the way they do things in this film, and that
Yeah,
makes watching it.
it's one of the reasons why they built some of the house sets the way they did is so that they could make it more maze-like, so it was easier for them to hide coming and going.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think the production design, not only for this film, but especially in the second and third film, the production designs are quite fucking amazing. On how they do the whole maze and chases with the characters in the films. If nothing else, this franchise and this film in particular, because it started the trend in these movies, is that because they have the characters running away from the killer instead of getting killed right off the bat, it makes more for a dynamic horror film that's really suspenseful because you honestly don't know what's gonna go on because they keep kicking the shit out of the killers and the killers keep kicking the shit out of them. So they could get away like Sydney does the first couple times she's encountered Ghostface, or they might not get away. It's really really well done. It's really well done, and I have not seen many subsequent slasher films that are as effective as this film has been. I think there's have been a lot that try and do that, but I think they fall through the trap of just trying to be cheap and kill their victims fast. Whereas this film has fun with killing and chases. It's like a cat and a mouse. They're chasing each other before actually anyone gets killed. I actually really, really like that. I think that's what makes this film hold up and what makes it successful. So, all right. So with that, I want to thank you, Panaz, for talking with me about the first Scream, directed by Wes Craven. For everyone else listening to our podcast, what we love to do is we like to rate the film between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. But what we like to do is we like to take an object, quote, or saying from the film to attribute to our rating. What is your rating, and what are you going to attribute it to, whether it be an object, a quote, or a saying, Panasa, for this film?
So I'm going to have to go super simple with this one. If it was the sequel, I'd give it out of stabs, but stab hasn't been established yet in this film. So I'm going to go 5 scary movies out of 5 because they talk about scary movies endlessly in this. The whole thing is around horror movies. And like I said, it is one of my favorite films. It's one of my favorite franchises. So I cannot recommend this movie enough. It's a great intro to horror as well for anybody's kiddos who don't mind gore, just a little bit.
Oh my god. All right, so I'm gonna give it 5-2. I was trying to figure out what this one was a little hard for me to figure out what the object or quote says, but I'm just gonna attribute it to 5 rants by Randy about motivations. Uh, you know, I I like Randy in the second movie a lot more than I do in this movie, but then when I rewatched it, I realized how much fun Jamie Kennedy has with his character
Yes.
in this film. I really like his character in the second movie, but this movie he has a lot of fun, and because he's right and he doesn't realize he's right a lot of the times, it's also fucking hilarious as shit. Um, and that only comes with having seen the movie multiple times. That is not something you pick up on the very first time you watch it. If you know nothing about the film, it's only when you've seen it subsequent times and you rewatch it. So I'm going to give it that. And I don't give that to many films on our program because I just don't think that a lot of horror films, have worked hard enough to get that rating. And this film, I believe that everyone is working at the top of their abilities in this film, and everything just comes off as really amazing in terms of it being one of our. Panazzo doesn't like when I say modern horror films, but it was one of the more creative, self-reflective horror films when it came out in '96, which is 30 years ago now. Jesus Christ! So, with that. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation in horror in which we delved into the Wes Craven Scream. Please make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast, your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. And please make sure to check out the other films that we are screening this month that were also directed by Wes Craven, because we have a lot of great things in store for you when you're listening here at Conversations in Horror. Have a great day, and we will see you on the next episode. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.